So Hawaii, we've got to do better. Let me explain. I'm not sure if you've noticed, but a lot of local restaurants and retail locations are understaffed. This isn't necessarily a Hawaii thing, it's a nationwide trend due to the pandemic. And as the economy is slowly recovering during this season of supply shortages and high inflation, these restaurant and retail workers, among others, are caught in the middle of this mess. So we all know these times are tough, right? I mean, we all seem to understand this. Yet, I couldn't believe the way that some locals treat these restaurant and retail workers with such disrespect. So the other day, my wife wanted a soft serve cone from McDonald's. She likes this a lot when it's really hot. So the four of us, my wife, my two young sons, and I went to McDonald's on Beretania Street in Honolulu. And I pre-ordered my food through the McDonald's app using my 50% off deal, saving me about 80 cents on the cone. So we pull up to the stall and I indicate that we're parked in the stall through the app, and then I wait for the employee to bring out the cone. Now, while we were waiting, my wife decided to pull an audible and decided to go inside to order something else. And so she went into McDonald's and decided to do a walk-in order. So I'm waiting in the car with the two boys. It's pretty hot outside and I have the AC running while we wait, thinking that, it's not going to take that long to get one cone. But it took a long time. At least 15 minutes. And I sat there thinking of the irony of us trying to save 50% off of a $1.80 cone. Meanwhile, I am burning up gas just sitting there in the parking stall. But hey, I understand. It's lunchtime and they were super busy. Eventually, the employee walks out with the cone. He apologizes for the wait and I tell him thank you. My wife then exited the McDonald's with her food, and then as we're driving away, she was describing how customers were acting inside as they were waiting for their food. She said that some of the customers were yelling at the employees. Why the heck you gotta mess up my order? Hey, how long I gotta wait? Although they said it in more local and colorful language. And when I heard that, I was pretty disappointed. Like, why do these people, locals, assume that they can talk to other people that way, especially other local people? And hey, I get it. I just sat in the car with my two sons, blasting the AC, waiting 15 minutes for a $1 ice cream cone. So, you know what? I get it. But there's no need to talk like that. I understand. You piss off. But what about aloha? What about understanding? What about patience and grace? Now, obviously, not all locals act like this. And maybe those people were collectively having a really bad day. But no one deserves to be spoken to like that at their workplace. I mean, can you imagine how that feels to be talked to by strangers like that? And hey, maybe for those who act that way towards retail and restaurant workers, it's either been a long time since they had to work in the food service or retail industry, or maybe they never had to work one of those jobs in their entire life. Good for them. But as someone who has worked in a myriad of service industry jobs before landing the job I currently have, let me tell you, it's not easy. When I graduated from college, not high school, but college, I moved to Oregon, but I couldn't find a career job right out of school. So I took a job as a cashier at a supermarket called Uwajimaya. I learned so much about people and myself in that job. I had to deal with so much back talk and just things that you never expect to deal with when you're just trying to do your job. As a cashier in training, there were so many times that people in line muttered that I was taking too long, or why am I not going any faster? People try to take advantage of me by trying to confuse me about the prices so they can get things for a lot cheaper. And they would get so mad if I made a mistake. And I get it. I should be better. I should be perfect. It's other people's money that we're talking about. But it was my first time ever doing that kind of job. I had a cashier in training sign. I was just learning. I felt totally disrespected doing that job. And when you're not really appreciated for your work and only criticized throughout the day, it starts to get tough to want to show up to work each day. Well, as you can imagine, I didn't last too long. I quit after 2 weeks. No 2-week notice, probably didn't even make the probationary period to get out of training pay. I only used my employee discount once for a case of Malona bars. And I remember the last day at the grocery store. I was in the manager's office and I was tearing up because I was telling her that I couldn't handle this job. And clearly I was capable of scanning items and making change. I just couldn't take the disrespect from people. There were so many times that I wanted to reach over the counter at these customers and grab them and say, hey, you can't talk to me that way. I have 2 undergraduate degrees. I'm only taking this job because I'm stuck here in Oregon. You think I want to be doing this? And ever since then, whenever we go to the supermarket, I try to say hi to the cashier and talk story. And if the line is really long, I wait patiently because I know how it is on the other side of the counter. One of the things I recognized during my high school years about Hawaii was the hypocrisy and double standard that we as locals sometimes practice, where we hold others, typically tourists or people not from Hawaii, to a high standard of behavior. And if they fail to meet our expectations, we unmercifully criticize them for it. Yet, when we ourselves do similar, if not worse, behaviors, it seems to be okay. And just to be clear, the criticism often thrown out towards the tourists is of their character, not behavior. The criticism oftentimes is so personal that we're so quick to judge the person and not the actions. And maybe this is just part of the human condition, and this happens all over the world. But the thing is, other parts of the world don't have the Aloha spirit, this almost mystical cultural foundation that we pride ourselves in Hawaii so much. It's in our nickname, the Aloha State. Yet collectively, do we practice what we pride ourselves in? Or is this too just a marketing buzzword that brings in the dollars but really lacks any cultural significance in our daily lives? I know that some locals don't like tourists. Why? They say it's because of the tourist attitude. I mean, read the comments on social media and you see the same complaints. They don't respect the aina, they think they know everything, they're rude, and they think Hawaii is their Disneyland. And of course, not all tourists are like that. Some, if not most, are respectful and actually are interested in Native Hawaiian and local culture. And then I think when it comes to those judgmental comments that are typically thrown out at tourists, I could say the same things about some locals. I mean, have you seen the rubbish around? When you think of locals, are they often open-minded or closed-minded? How friendly are people on the road when they drive on an island? Now, maybe this video will never reach the people who need to hear it most, but I feel like I gotta speak up and say something about this kind of disrespect. Frankly, it would be very unprofessional for those employees to say something while they're working, but I can say something. That's not how people should be treated at their workplace. I know everyone is busy and rushing around, and we expect life to be the way that it was or even faster, but in the nicest way I know how to say it. Hey, try wait, don't get nuts. Try to relax a little, okay? And instead of just being pissed off or piss off, maybe practice empathy towards those employees. For many of us, that small interaction with that business is just a small part of our day, and we move on to do other things. But for them, for those employees, this is their daily or at least weekly routine. They check in every day, do the same tasks, and serve customers for hours without a thank you, without a good job. So the other day we ate lunch at Zippy's, and it wasn't too crowded, but it was getting kind of busy. And there were only two servers, these two aunties, and you could tell that they were struggling to keep up. Customers were waiting to be seated, orders were taking a little bit longer, and it took a while for them to even get our check. But through it all, I recognized that they were trying their best. I mean, there we were, we got two young kids. My son is finishing his citing and he's ready to get out of there, but we had to just sit there and wait. And as we sat there, I was just thinking about how hard it must be to do that all day, running around, taking orders, carrying plates, cleaning up tables. And so when they eventually came to take the check, I made sure to tell them thank you. We also made sure to clean up under the table since my son has spilled so many citing noodles and corn all over the ground so that they don't have to clean up later. And I think it's small things like that that go a long way to making their day better. I think it's only fair since through their service, our day was made a little bit better too. So just want to say thank you, Shar at Zippy's, for serving us food and cleaning up after us. Thanks for watching, and